Well, folks, here we are. We've done Secret Saturdays. We've done Generator X. We've done Danny Phantom. Now it is time to do the longest and arguably most important of them all. Max Steel. Wait, that's not right. Ben 10, that's what I was thinking of. Right. They look similar, I got them confused. For those who don't know, which I'm sure is absolutely none of you, Ben 10 is an animated series created by Man of Action. And you probably remember them as the guys who did Generator X. Ben 10 was based on a DC comic series called Dial H for Hero, about a device called the H-Dial that could turn people into superheroes. The classic Ben 10 timeline spanned from 2005 all the way to 2014, and had a total of 230 episodes. Being a Ben 10 fan can be very satisfying, but also very frustrating. Then again, most things are. Or, most things that I like are. In case you're wondering, I will not be covering any of the live action stuff because I don't feel like it. Before we begin, I need to address something. The reboot. I've seen fans say they hate the reboot while also admitting they've never actually seen it. You have no idea how much I hate it when people do that. There is a stigma attached to the mere idea of a reboot. People always assume it's just gonna be another Teen Titans Go, when in actuality it's a lot more like Danny Phantom. And we all know how much I love Danny Phantom. I feel like it shouldn't be viewed as another Ben 10 series, and more just as a new series that's also called Ben 10 about a kid that can turn into aliens. Why is he called Overflow? That's literally just water hazard. Use water hazard! But with that out the way, we can begin the OG series. Now, most people say that the original series is the best one, and it is, like, I guess, the most iconic, but I don't think it's the best. I think it has the best art style, but the later iterations explore the character and the mythos a lot more. But anyways, without further ado, we begin. Ben 10 tells the tale of a 10-year-old boy named Ben Tennyson. Get it? Get it? Ben is voiced by Tara Strong, who also did Timmy Turner. And on an unrelated note, this is the first result when you Google Timmy Turner. So he goes on this summer vacation cross-country road trip with his grandpa Max and his cousin Gwen. Him and Gwen do not get along very well. I know they're cousins and all, but like, geez, they really do not like each other. Very early on in the trip, an alien device falls out of the sky and latches onto his wrist. The device gives Ben the ability to transform into 10 different alien forms. The classic aliens are the most iconic, but I feel like they're also kinda lame. You see, I really like Stinkfly. I don't know why, but I do. But later on, they introduced Jet Ray and Astrodactyl, and now Stinkfly is kind of obsolete. Now, this doesn't mean I despise every alien in the classic series. I mean, Diamond Head is basically the main character of the whole franchise. And Grey Matter has his own theme that I'll play every time he shows up, and he's voiced by Invader Zim. Forearms is an alien I used to absolutely despise, but upon rewatching the series, I've warmed up to him. I think the classic aliens look best in the classic art style. Maybe they don't work in the newer series, but they definitely work here. Admittedly, a lot of the aliens do fit very generic archetypes, but this is still the first series. The aliens' powers shouldn't be too convoluted. It's later revealed that the device is called the Omni-Matrix, or Omnitrix for short. It also has a habit of breaking and malfunctioning a lot. Sometimes he would get the wrong alien, and on top of that he could only stay in one form for so long before turning back to normal. It's always fun to see Ben escape a sticky situation without using any of his powers. In the very first episode, they hint at Grandpa Max knowing about aliens, and I'm really glad they do, because I really like hints and stuff. Hints are always cool and good. So after Ben gets the Omnitrix, a big bad alien conqueror named Vilgax decides he wants to take it from him. Vilgax is voiced by Steve Blum, and I kinda don't like that, cause I always associate Steve Blum's voice with characters like Green Goblin and Starscream, and I feel like Vilgax doesn't really fit that same archetype. He also voices the Scare. I think the Scare definitely fits that type, but not Vilgax. So the entire first season is basically this Vilgax guy waiting for the right moment to steal the Omnitrix. It's pretty straightforward and not really too complicated. It is only the first season after all. Also, magic exists, and at times it feels kind of out of place. I wish they would have, interweaved it into one of the story arcs in the classic series. They kinda do that later on, but still. So the two magic characters are Charmcaster and Hex. Charmcaster is pretty cool, but Hex is... eh. In the final episode of the first season, Ben comes face to face with Vilgax, and he proceeds to blow him up and kill him. It's also revealed Grandpa Max is a part of an alien fighting organization called the Plumbers. Yes, they're called the Plumbers. You'll get used to it, trust me. So these plumber dudes that Max is a part of, apparently they don't exist anymore. They're a defunct group. Max's old plumber partner Phil returned and he wanted to start the business up again. Except he was also evil, because of course he was. Season 2 mainly revolves around Kevin Levin. Much like Ben, he has powers. While Ben sometimes uses his powers for selfish reasons, Kevin only uses his powers for selfish reasons. At first, they're friends with each other, but when Ben realizes Kevin just wants to hurt people, they quickly become enemies. Then Kevin absorbs some of the DNA from the Omnitrix and then transforms into this giant mutant beast thing. Kevin finds Vilgax's frozen corpse floating through space. Don't ask how it got there, it just is, and they decide to team up and kill Ben. And they come really close. In this episode, you see something that never happens the whole rest of the series, and that's the Omnitrix detaching from Ben's hand. That's how close they get to meeting him. But of course, the plan backfires and they end up trapped in an alternate dimension. In the end, it's Gwen who saves the Omnitrix by pulling the old switcheroo. I feel like Kevin is an improvement over Vilgax, because although Vilgax was a big bad alien guy who wanted to steal the Omnitrix, Kevin represents what Ben could have been if he wasn't careful. At one point they go to the future and meet Ben's future self, Ben 10,000. There's even an entire episode that takes place in Ben 10,000's world, which is like one of the coolest episodes in the whole series. I like how they didn't just forget about the whole established future world, and they revisited the concept without using any time travel. We also meet Ben's son, Kenny Tennyson, or Ken 10, and it's actually implied that his mom is Kai Green, who was Ben's very first love interest. And Kai, much like Ben, has family in the Plumbers. We also see Kevin's future self. Kevin 11,000. He looks like the type of guy who'd rip out his own rib cage just to suck his own dick. In Season 3 of Ben 10, we get my favorite arc, the Ghost Freak arc. One of Ben's alien transformations, an ecto-neurite named Ghost Freak, escapes the Omnitrix and reveals himself as the Scare. I already love the concept of ghosts and monsters, but having one of Ben's own aliens go rogue is just amazing. And it's not just Ghost Freak that I like about this arc, it's the way it unfolds. After the Scare is defeated, Ben begins running into a bunch of these other monster aliens, and every time he does, he scans their DNA and unlocks a new form. It all culminates in a two-part episode where Ben has to fight all the monster aliens while everyone on Earth is turning into a zombie. The only thing I don't like about this arc is the Ghost Freak origin inconsistency. Way back in the original episode, it was, I think, implied that Ghost Freak was created by the Omnitrix. But if he was created, then how does he have all those servants and henchmen and stuff? Are there two Ghost Freaks running around the universe? Aside from that plot hole, or whatever you want to call it, a pretty cool arc. And I will say it again, I think they should have had the magic stuff be involved with the story of this arc a little more. And yes, I know there is magic stuff going on this season, but it's not really involved with the storyline itself. The fourth and final arc of the series is, in my opinion, the weakest. It's about this guy named Driscoll who recruits all of Ben's other enemies and forms a group called the Negative 10. So this Driscoll guy, he's the leader of a cult called the Forever Knights, and he's an ex-plumber. And he assembled all of Ben's enemies to make a whole group of them, which is something that's never been done before. On paper, this guy sounds cool, but I just don't care about him at all, because he was never really built up like the other villains. So the last episode of the series, it's also the first episode of the final season. It's also not an episode, it's a movie. Someone accidentally put the Alien Force Ben on the cover and not the classic series Ben. I don't know how they made that kind of mistake, but it really bothers me. The movie also has three openings, one of which introduces a new alien, Eye Guy. So if you don't see that one rare opening, you're not going to know who Eye Guy is, and when they show him later on, it's going to be really confusing. Ben accidentally turns on the Omnitrix self-destruct sequence. The amount of times this thing malfunctions, I'm surprised he didn't do that before, but now he needs to travel across the universe with Tetrax to find Azimuth, the Omnitrix's creator. And somehow, by some miracle, Gwen managed to sneak into the ship. How? I don't know, probably something to do with magic or whatever. And so, after a long and treacherous journey, they find Azimuth, who turns out to be a disgruntled, nihilistic gray matter. Azimuth was really upset because the Omnitrix is meant to create peace, and Ben used it as a weapon. Now all Azimuth wants is just for the Omnitrix to blow up, kill everyone, and get it all over with. A nihilistic sci-fi scientist. Where have I heard that one before? So the whole movie, Gax Bilms is pursuing them, and at the end he corners all them. Gwen tells Ben that he can still be a hero, even if he can't go hero, and this gives Ben the motivation to fight off Gax Bilms' entire army all on his own. Azimuth witnesses Ben's selfless act, and he decides to turn off the Omnitrix's self-destruct system, and he gives him a new alien transformation, Ultraman. And as Ultraman, Ben yeets Jax films into space, and he dies. The end. So that was Ben 10 Classic. What a ride. Honestly, I feel like Ben 10 Classic is the weakest of all four series. And I don't mean it's bad, because it is still very strong. When the weakest is this strong, you know you're doing something good. It has a very, like, grounded, realistic feel to it. Although in some of the later seasons, some of the episodes start to, like, make not any sense at all, and they, like, never bring it up again. And also, there wasn't really as much outer space stuff in this series. It's very rare we'd actually see space. But we see that in the later shows anyway, so whatever. And the side villains were okay for the most part. There was a lot of them I didn't really get around to talking about because they weren't very important. My favorite classic side villain has to be Zombozo. But I was really like surprised and like disappointed when they didn't have more episodes with him. Like he only appears once in all of the classic series. His henchmen show up like more frequently than you'd expect, but Zombozo himself, the big man, big boss himself, is nowhere to be seen. But yeah, Ben 10 is a really good show, and I think it was actually the first kid show to have like multiple story arcs, and I really like that because I think that formatting is really cool. But anyways, I gotta end this video here because I don't want to do the entire franchise in one video, obviously. So, yeah. Anyways, this has been Bradworth, blah blah blah, signing off. You guys always act like you're better than me.